Let me give you a metaphor. It's something that we also teach in the book, and this is a really important concept that once people get it or understand it, it really transforms the way they think. When you're thinking about what do I want to do in the future, what is my entrepreneurial company I want to set up 5 years from now, or what is I want to discover my purpose, there's a tendency for people to want to know true north. That's one point in the distance, true north. 3 degrees west is no longer true north, right? This is a problem, is I believe that you shouldn't be seeking true north for a number of reasons. Reason number one is you may never figure it out. You could be going through self-introspection and all these courses and assessments, and you'll still never really know this is exactly what it is I want to do. That's problem number one. Problem number two is what happens if you do discover it, you do achieve it, and you realize, wow, this isn't what I thought it would be. That's terrible. 3, if you don't achieve it, you feel like a failure. But the 4th reason is that there's only one option. It's only one job or one thing, which is not good. I believe you should have options. Options are better than none. And then the last reason why it's not good to focus on true north is people have a tendency to do nothing until they understand what it is. And if it takes you years to figure it out, or if you never figure it out, you're taking no action. So here's what we want people to do. Don't look at true north. Try to figure out north. Because north is 15 degrees east, 13 degrees west, you're still north. And so what we want to do is we want people to identify what's in their north. And that's where the elements come in. So I have 9 elements, and that is my north. And what this does, this gives me tremendous direction. I know which way to go. It gives me a lot of options because I can go 13 degrees east, 20 degrees west, and I'm still going north. And I can start doing course corrections, but I'm still going north. The other thing this does is helps you integrate your life. We men are terrible at integration. We compartmentalize things, right? It's like, okay, this is my business life and that's my personal life, or that's my religious life. We separate them. But if you really want to have fulfillment and happiness, you actually have to have consistency amongst all those things. So again, it's those 9 elements. So those 9 elements are my north. I need to have a certain degree of all of them. And from time to time, I shift a little bit, but they're still there in the north. It gives me direction, and it allows me now to integrate, because my personal life needs to be consistent with north. My business life needs to be consistent with north. So this is a very important concept. The Dream and Achieve book is actually the culmination of many years. And really that journey started when I was 35. So that's 30 years ago. At the time, I was running Pepsi-Cola Tokyo. And the reason why I can do what I do now, leadership coaching and consulting, is because of all my years at Pepsi and Nike. But when I was 35, I'm sitting there in Tokyo, I realized, okay, this is a great job, but I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't want to be a corporate slave for the rest of my life. And so I set a 10-year target. I said, okay, in 10 years, when I turn 45, I'm retiring. I'm leaving the corporate life.
Can you explain to all the wannabe entrepreneurs what does it mean, corporate slave? Because some of them do not understand even today what it means to be a mule or horse or slave.
Yeah, when you're in the corporation, of course, Pepsi, Nike, they're huge. There's tens of thousands, hundred thousands of people, and you have a lot of bosses. Even though you may have technically one direct supervisor, there are probably three or four or five people that still have some control over you because maybe they'll be the regional director or the headquarters director or a functional director. And so you have to answer to these three, four, five different bosses. All of them have different agendas. All of them have different, timelines. They're all in different time zones. And so all these requests are coming in all the time. And no matter how high up you get in the corporation, you're still going to have to report to these people. So in some sense, it's kind of like being a slave.
Okay, thanks. Let's go back to your journey.
Okay, so I was 35. I was saying, okay, great job, but I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to set up my own company. And that for me was retirement. And so I set a 10-year target. And so I started through that process, going through a lot of self-discovery. And, I took every single assessment tool out there to try to discover. But what I realized, they're all good at helping you, what I call step one, which is identify the things that you need to have in your career and your life, your strengths, your passions, your values. I call those elements. And what I typically find working with all these executives is that most people have between 7 and 9 elements. These are the things they need to have in their life, in their career, to be happy, to be successful. And so those tools I thought did a good job of doing that. But where I felt where they fell short is they didn't give you enough specificity. They didn't give you enough detail of what does this really mean. For example, one of the elements might be, I want to develop, mentor, and influence people. Okay, what does that mean? And so I started designing my own program to take those things and drill down and understand the who, what, where, when for each of those 7 to 9 elements. And again, for example, let's take that develop, influence, mentor people. We would have to understand, who do you want to develop? What do you want to develop them on? Where do you want to be doing it? When do you want to be doing it? And so trying to drill down, you get a lot more detail about what does that really mean. And when you drill down to get that kind of detail, not only does it give you clarity, but it also gives you something you can act on.
Is it something like going from abstract to concrete level, or how?
Yeah. Yeah. Going from a concept, from a philosophy, from a value, down to, okay, let's understand who, what, where, when. And then from that, I can take this step. And what we do in our program, we have you develop a 3-month plan saying, okay, based on all this who, what, where, when of all my elements, these are the things I can do in the next 3 months. Then once you complete that, we get you to say, okay, now what can you do in the next 3 days? And what this does is takes you from a midterm down to a specific, here's what I can do right now. And what we do is we help people to start doing that, actually take these little steps. And that is the key, or I guess the key thing to being able to find your purpose. You got to start with the first small step. The problem is most people don't take those steps because they want to know what's the big picture first. And that could take a long time.
What are the prerequisites for finding your purpose? Is it getting into higher level of awareness, persistence, some personality traits?
It could be any of those things. I don't care how you define it, but to me, it's really a crossroads between your strengths, your passions, your values, and your experiences. And when you can start looking at all those things and then start drilling down, this is going to give you some really good direction.
Okay, I will delete myself. Just it's easier for me this way. So So we have find your leadership DNA as probably as part of the whole concept, I suppose.
Yes. Yes.
So can we, as we started with your personal journey 35 years ago, PepsiCo, Tokyo, Nike, 10-year target, step one, identify, and then we just, you know, ran into the model itself, or is it a philosophy and there is a model after the philosophy? How?
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
so it.
The Dream and Achieve, there's the book, and that walks you through the whole process. But we also have an actual program that people can sign up for and saying, okay, using the book maybe as the manual, kind of as a guide, here are the 3 steps they go through. And then we provide a coach to help them through those 3 steps. And by the end of 90 days, they should have their 7 to 9 elements that they need to have in their life. They should have specificity of what does that all actually mean. And then they'll have a 3-month plan and then a 3-day action plan so they can then start moving down that path. Let's fast forward to when I turned 45. This is 10 years. I set a 10-year target at 35. I'm going to retire, set up my own entrepreneurial company at 45. So that's 2001. And to any entrepreneur, they've lived through this. Those first 1-2 years are really rough, right? Because I mean, for all kinds of reasons, and so I was also struggling with it because I made the mistake. Well, I shouldn't say mistake. I did it the wrong way. When I started my own company, I did it myself. I'm saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. And I didn't really align or find partnerships to help me along. Now, I'm 20 years later, that actually was the right thing to do because now it's all mine versus having to, you know, split up or share some of those. But I mean, I'll come back to that later. So when I first started this business, I was struggling, and here's what I was doing. Every time I met a prospective client, I was calculating how much could I charge them, So I was really focused in on the money, and it really was the wrong thing. But here's what happened. I was after a workout in the gym. I'm sitting in a hot tub alone. There's nobody in that whole area, and this message, I don't think it was an audible voice, but this crystal clear message shot into my brain. And the message said, don't worry about the money, worry about the people. Don't worry about the money, worry about the people. And it was really an epiphany for me. If you believe in God, I think that was a message from the Lord. And it made a lot of sense because when you look at who I am, what drives me is not money. What drives me is I want to help transform people. I want to help them get out of their ruts. I want them to understand their purpose. I want them to get onto the path. I want them to be better leaders, better managers, better communicators. And so it made a tremendous amount of sense. So I started focusing on, okay, what can I do to impact people or teams or organizations? And that was the whole focus. And I stopped worrying about the money. And then within really a matter of days or weeks, I got 2 big contracts from 2 big companies. One's one a top 10 automotive company. Another one's a big 4 accounting firm. And I still have those clients. I've had those clients for 20 years. And that really was kind of the watershed moment that really just transformed things. Because when you get into business, of course you want to make money and of course you want to make profit. But if that's your drive, you're going to have a hard time developing a business because you're not going to connect with clients. You're not going to connect with the consumers because it's focused on you. And what I realized is that the focus needs to be on them. Mm-hmm. And that really was a big, epiphany or watershed moment for me. And so ever since then, the whole focus has been on the client, the people. Occasionally I'll get into that rut of starting calculating money, but then I keep remembering that message. Okay, shift back to the people. I wrote another book, which was published about 2 years ago. It's called Stories from the Top. And that book talks about the 8 common challenges that leaders face. And it doesn't matter industry, country, culture, level, everybody, all these leaders struggle with these same things. And then there are 11 foundational principles that in some order, if you take from principle 1 or 5 or 7, that will help you address challenge number 2, for example. One of those principles is focus on them. Mm-hmm. Basically, what this means is if you want to get followers, mm-hmm. whether it's clients or employees or the board or friends or anything, if you want people to follow you, if you want willing followers, you need to understand who are they? What do they want? What are their interests? What are their concerns? And then if you can, over time, show them or demonstrate to them that you can actually help them with what they want, they will follow. Mm-hmm. And so that was the key. Now, when you talk about cross-cultural, it's still the same thing because this transcends culture. Uh-huh. However, how you do it might change. If you're doing it with a Japanese person, might be different than if you did it with an American or a Croatian. There are going to be maybe slight adjustments in how you do it, but the still basic principle still there. Thing is, no matter what you do, it all relates. A lot of people say, okay, because I've also worked with a lot of corporate people who want to do what I do. I mean, they want to be an entrepreneur. They don't want to be that corporate slave anymore. They want to start their own thing. And some people have this, I think, misconception that if they try something for 2 years and it fails, they have wasted 2 years. Uh-huh. No, you have not. You have gained valuable experience in those 2 years. And even if it's what you shouldn't do, okay, that's still incredibly valuable. So it's important to be able to, when you're starting to go through this discovery period, you really need to look at your history also. What have you gone through? What did you like? What didn't you like? What were you good at? What weren't you good at? And understanding all that will get you to this point of being able to clarify what those 7 to 9 elements are. Because what you'll find is those 9, let's say I have 9. Those 9 really, you call it a report card, call it whatever, is that I have to have those 9 things in my life. Now, I might not be able to have them all to a wonderful degree, but if I ignore any of them, I'm going to be in trouble. For example, when we work with executives, you'd be amazed by how many of these successful executives are not really happy. They're powerful, they have influence, they have money, but their health isn't bad, or their relationships are only driven around the company. Terrible marriage, their kids don't speak with them. You don't have those things, you're gonna be miserable. I don't care how much money you have. And so what I learned along this journey is that you have to have a combination of all those 9 things. You cannot ignore any of them. Let me give you a metaphor. It's something that we also teach in the book. And this is a really important concept that once people get it or understand it, it really transforms the way they think. When you're thinking about what do I want to do in the future, what is my entrepreneurial company I want to set up 5 years from now, or what is I want to discover my purpose, there's a tendency for people to want to know true north. Mm-hmm. That's 1 point in the distance, true north. 3 degrees west is no longer true north, right? This is a problem, is I believe that you shouldn't be seeking true north for a number of reasons. Mm-hmm. Reason number 1 is you may never figure it out. You could be going through self-introspection and all these courses and assessments, and you'll still never really know this is exactly what it is I want to do. That's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is what happens if you do discover it, you do achieve it, and you realize, wow, this isn't what I thought it would be. Mm-hmm. That's terrible. 3, if you don't achieve it, you feel like a failure. But the 4th reason is that there's only one option. It's only one job or one thing, which is not good. I believe you should have options. Options are better than none. And then the last reason why it's not good to focus on true north is people have a tendency to do nothing until they understand what it is. Mm-hmm. And if it takes you years to figure it out, or if you never figure it out, you're taking no action. So here's what we want people to do. Don't look at true north. Try to figure out north. Because north is 15 degrees east, 13 degrees west, you're still north. And so what we want to do is we want people to identify what's in their north. And that's where the elements come in. So I have 9 elements, and that is my north. And what this does, this gives me tremendous direction. I know which way to go. It gives me a lot of options because I can go 13 degrees east, 20 degrees west, and I'm still going north. And I can start doing course corrections, but I'm still going north. The other thing this does is helps you integrate your life. We men are terrible at integration. We compartmentalize things, right? It's like, okay, this is my business life and that's my personal life, or that's my religious life. We separate them. But if you really want to have fulfillment and happiness, you actually have to have consistency amongst all those things. So again, it's those 9 elements. So those 9 elements are my north. I need to have a certain degree of all of them. And from time to time, I shift a little bit, but they're still there in the north. It gives me direction, and it allows me now to integrate, because my personal life needs to be consistent with north. My business life needs to be consistent with north. So this is a very important concept. Okay. No, that's a very good point. In fact, I also went through it. It's when you are a CEO or a president, it's nice because everybody wants to see you. Everybody, is lining up outside your office. You've got all these people to do things for you. You could just delegate it. Hey, go do that. Go do that. You got power. You got all this. You get to fly first class. You get to stay in the 5-star hotels. I mean, all this is wonderful part of being a CEO or GM. And when you go into entrepreneurship, you give up most of it, right? Because now you don't have 10,000 people in your organization. You have 1 or 2, or not that many. And which means you actually have to do a lot of stuff that you never had to do before. You have to do administrative things that you've never really done before. You have to make your own phone calls. You got to schedule your own meetings. So that can be kind of the second issue. The first one is loss of this prestige. The second one is that, you got to do a lot of this little stuff, the administrative, the things that you never really had to do before. The third struggle that I've found for myself, as well as people who've made the jump, is that when you're in a big company, you've got all these different brilliant people you can talk to about things. Maybe you have an idea, so you want to bounce it off these 3 experts in these 3 different areas. Well, when you become an entrepreneur, that becomes very limited. You probably don't have those people in your organization, so it's kind of lonely because you don't have that. And I'd say those are some of the key challenges that a lot of people face when they go from this big position down to entrepreneurship. And I went through the same thing. But what I did is, because I had a really strong sense of what my north was, what those elements were, that, okay, this is a little frustrating. When I walk into a room, nobody wants to talk to me. Okay. But I know in my mind is I'm going to make an impact on 3 of those people in the room. I know who I need to talk to, and I will get to them. So it's kind of using your strengths or using your passions to overcome those irritations or those things that you used to have that you don't have now. Regarding the network, let me take this in a couple of things. One is a network, because you're an entrepreneur and you don't have those 10,000 people in your underneath you. You have to be really good at being able to figure out networking for a number of reasons. One is because you want to get business. Networking is going to be critical, right? But the other network is what you were talking about, is that it's people you can learn from, you can get some support, you can get some help from them. I think, that's critical. The other thing is, look at it from my example, is I've been doing this for 20 years, probably the first 10, 12, 15 years, I did it all on my own, one man show, did everything, didn't even have an admin because I didn't really need one. But what I've discovered is that I'm now entering the next chapter of my life, which is, I've been in business for 40 years now, an entrepreneur for 20 years, and I'm blessed. My client list, our client list is incredible. We have the big 3 consulting firms, the big 4 accounting firms, the top 10 investment banks, the top 10 automotive companies, pharmaceutical companies, high-tech companies. And we're dealing with CEOs and C-suite of those levels. So we got a tremendous knowledge and I guess you call it credibility, because we work with these people. My next chapter is I want to be able to take all that and share it with thousands, tens of thousands of people. Because right now, as a coach, maybe I can impact 100 people a year. That's it. So I want to leverage that. And so now what we're doing is taking all that knowledge and getting it down into really bite-sized modules where people can then take. And these are, again, are very foundational, really practical things that people can do to immediately apply into their life to be a better leader, be a better manager, be a better communicator. So going into this, what I started really realizing is, I'm not very good at technology and I'm not a marketer. I kind of thought I was a good marketer, but when I really started looking at it, I'm really not very good at it at all. And so in the last few years, I've been, last 4 or 5 years, I've been bringing in coaches, and now I have 9, and they're in Dubai, UK, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, US. That's one way to leverage. But now what I'm doing is I'm partnering, which is what I didn't do when I first started this company 20 years ago. I'm now partnering with experts in technology to help us figure out how to take all that knowledge and get it into a system. And I'm now working or partnering with marketing people who know how to take my message, adjust it, how to get the right look on it, how to brand it, and then how to reach out into all these networks. Because if I do it maybe on LinkedIn, okay, it's going to take time, right, to build followership. But if you can get it connected into a strong network already, wow, then you've just exponentially improved things, because it would take me forever to build 10,000 followers. But if I connect with somebody who has 10,000 followers or 1 million followers, big difference. So okay. that's the I guess the change that I've learned from 20 years ago mistake. Now I figured it out, or at least I think I figured it out. Okay. Actually, every day for me is different.
Wow.
Now, which is what I love, because I don't like routine. I don't want to do the same thing over and over and over. I mean, every day is different. I wake up early. I'm a morning person, so I'll get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, start working, and I'm actually most productive at that time of day, where I have to do some deep thinking or some kind of innovative thought. So I usually start the morning where nobody's up, no calls, nothing, where I can really hone in on some really deep thinking type of things. And then every day it's going to be some kind of networking. As an entrepreneur, You have to network. In fact, I learned a tough lesson when I first started 20 years ago. I was doing a tremendous amount of networking, which you have to do when you start. And then over the next, whatever, 10, 12 years, I was successful. So I felt, well, I don't have to do that anymore. I'll stop it. So I stopped. Next year was a bad year. Next year was a bad year, because what you have to do, and your listeners know this, it's that sales funnel. You have to continually put prospects or potential whatever in that top of the funnel. And then eventually it'll boil down to a contract here and there, right? But if you stop filling that funnel, then you have nothing coming out at the bottom. And then if you start up again, it's going to take a long time to start filling it. So I learned that lesson very hard. I think it was 2015. And ever since then, even if I having great years, I'm just constantly networking. And I'm really not that great, or I don't really love networking. I'm more of an introvert, but I've learned how to do it. And I've set up a discipline to do a little bit every single day. Now, there are different ways to do it and different apps and different vehicles and platforms to do, but you have to do a little bit every single day. And if you can start doing that as a discipline, you'll find that, it doesn't really take that much time. You actually do a little bit every day, and it all adds up to a great degree. Now, the other thing you were talking about, my life, I guess, is, I'm very blessed because I have a great life, good health, great family. I'm doing things that I love to do. I've got a thriving business, but I'm always thinking about what's next. And that's where I'm moving into that chapter now. But I'm incredibly blessed. I've got a great life. And the thing is, I want people to have this. I really do. That's what drives me. And I want to help tens of thousands of people to do this. And because the approach is actually quite simple. It may not be easy. There's all kinds of barriers and roadblocks to be able to achieve your passion. But I know how to get through those. I know how to get around those because I've done it obviously myself, but with also thousands of people. And that's where I'm at now. Is if any of your listeners or anybody wants to know, hey, how can I do this? Contact me.